So we're back on the MCI today. We're working on this wiper switch here, which leaks more than it actually operates the wiper, which now it doesn't even want to return. So we're going to replace this air wiper switch. Now I went ahead and removed the radio that was hung down here. I still don't have great access to it. I'm hoping that now that I've got the retaining screw, I can push it back and maybe get it back in the dash far enough to be able to get to the back side of it. I've got a new valve here to go in it. We got this from Luke. So I need to see if I can reach up in there now that it's back a little bit, and if I'll have access to the fittings that are threaded on the back. This is my first time taking one of these out on this particular MCI dashboard. I'm hoping that we can get to it though without having to pull most of the dash out. I'm hoping we can reach up from underneath here now that the radio's sat down and get it from the backside. Alright, so we got it out of there. I reached up through the backside, went ahead and pulled it down. So now that I've got it here right in front of me, it shouldn't be too bad to get that valve swapped out. We'll get it put back up in the dash. We've got the air wiper valve all swapped out here. So what I'm going to do is let the bus sit and build air. We're going to make sure this valve doesn't leak and doesn't have any problems before I get it put back up in the dashboard and get the rest of the dash put back together. So we did lose all of our air when I swapped this valve out because this feed line right here was taken off, so that drained all the air in the bus. So as soon as it builds back up, we'll test the function on this switch, make sure that it works correctly, and if it does, put the dash all back together. Alright, cold start. Hasn't been started in probably a week and a half, 2 weeks. So this plate here is going under the bus so that when we pull forward, we have a solid plate that we're jacking on. We're not on loose gravel or anything like that. We try to do this anytime we're lifting something big. Alright, so we got the bus jacked up. Chris's phone is ringing like usual. So next up will be, we'll get the wheels and tires off the front, and we'll start messing with the front axle. Working on getting the front wheels off the bus here. Somebody is seriously over tightened these lug nuts at some point. The Milwaukee wouldn't even touch them. So got the 1-inch tire gun out. Just gotta wait on the compressor to catch back up when we get the last two off. So we're working on replacing the brake valve in this MCI. Now, this console normally sits right here, and under this flap door is where your axis is for the parking brake. So we removed the shifter and then unscrewed this fiberglass panel from it. It's just a bunch of Phillips screws, and that gets us access so we can get down in here to it. So now we're going to take the 2 screws out of the bracket that mount it back to this piece, and we should be able to get that thing out of there. And there it is. So this valve was mounted up here, and this sensor mounts below it, and that's the activation to let it know that it's been tripped. So that was actually hanging from up under that bracket. Alright, this is nuts. I went to go put my wrench on these. These are all 1/2 inch. I didn't break these loose yet. I touched the first one. Yep, all 3 of them are finger tight. Didn't even need a wrench. That's nuts. So we swapped out all the air lines one at a time to make sure we got them all back in the right spot and put the plug back in it. So now that all that's done, I need to get the mounting bracket off of this one. So as you see, there's a roll pin through the handle here. We're going to drive that roll pin off, then take this nut off, then we can swap this bracket over, and then the new valve came with a new handle and roll pin, so we'll use those on the new one. Alright, so we're just going to take a pin punch and just drive that straight through there. Alright, fresh getting this installed here. So now we want to make sure that when we press down, makes contact on that switch. So now we're working on getting all the screws that mount the panel back on. So there's 7 of them. And there's one back here that is a little hard to get to. Other than that, you've got 3 across the front and 3 down the side. So get all those tightened up, then we'll get the shifter put back in. So that is everything back together. There's our parking brake, so it's a push-pull right there. And the shifter's all back together. We did clean everything that we could while we had it apart. So now we just need to get the bus started here so we can test to make sure that it all still works. But it has got no power steering fluid in it right now. I just replaced a hydraulic line, so as soon as I get it filled back up, we'll get it started. Alright, so we've got it on high idle right now, and it's building air pressure. We're just above 50 pounds. Once we get it aired up here, then we will try out the new brake valve. Alright, so brakes should be released. Bus moves. We are in a bit of a hole right now, so brakes are back applied. It works. And those lights are now off on the dash. I'm not sure why, but it seems like the no gen light up here also works with the air for low air. When one goes out, the other goes out. It is charging though. We're at like 27 volts. So we grabbed a telehandler to get the dumpster moved. So now we can finally get the bus out of here. So this will be its first test drive since all the work was done on it. Just gotta wait for it to build air now, and we'll get it out of here. So there we go on the MCI. We're just waiting on Tom to come pick it up now. This thing should be ready to go. It did pretty good on its test drive. Brakes are a lot better